Julio Urias' legal troubles have lightened. His free agent prospects, though, Turns out people did not forget that USC knows how to churn out quarterbacks, and Mick Cronin begins to rebuild his reputation with UCLA basketball. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It is January 10th, 2024. It is a lovely looking morning outside. I haven't been out in there yet. Hopefully I won't freeze off my extremities. We'll find out in a few minutes. But until then, if you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment. I try to get back to you guys. I look forward to hearing from you. Before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. Lakers edge Toronto 132-131. Voila! The Lakers are back at 500. They're also clinging to the very last spot of the play-in tournament, which, if it were held today, so there's that. Anthony Davis scored 41 points to lead the Lakes. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay rallied to beat the Kings in overtime 3-2. The Kings have lost 6 consecutive games. They dropped a 2-0 lead in the third period. And by the way, big money acquisition Pierre-Luc Dubois has been demoted to the 4th line, so this is just not a good look. Meanwhile, today, Toronto's at the Clippers at 7:30 and Washington State plays at USC at 7:30. What do you say we get to the news? No felony charges will be filed against free agent pitcher, former Dodger, Julio Urias, in relation to an alleged assault on a woman after they went to an LAFC soccer match this summer. It was originally reported by ESPN. A statement claimed that the incident, which was allegedly with Julio Urias' wife, did not justify felonies, either from what was seen on camera or for the alleged injuries on the victim. So this is going to be a misdemeanor case at most. Now, none of this means Urias is out of the woods, okay? Because again, it just basically means he's not doing a hard time. It was his second run-in with Major League Baseball due to a domestic violence incident, which for his free agent status means that he has a rep that general managers simply can't look past. It wouldn't be that surprising to see some Japanese team have a starting rotation with both Trevor Bauer and Julio Urias, if you think about it. Remember, no other player in Major League Baseball history has been suspended twice due to domestic violence. He could have been the second most sought after free agent in the market after Shohei Ohtani. He could have. Instead, he was placed on administrative leave by the majors after his arrest. The Dodgers go public. They say they're going to move on from him. They even scrubbed Dodger Stadium of anything with his likeness on it. So even if Urias was trying to get a big money contract, the best way to do it would be to use the Dodgers as leverage. Saying, oh yeah, they want me back. Only they don't. So, good job, dude. Don't know how else to say it. Maybe you're going to be in the majors. Maybe not. Dodger president Andrew Friedman told SiriusXM something we pretty much could have guessed on our own, that the Dodgers are not interested in bringing back designated hitter JD Martinez. After all, that's pretty much what Shohei Ohtani's job is going to be until he can pitch again. We're going to keep him on the board until he actually signs, though. So the idiot scribe rumor board is still alive. And we did wind up scratching out another name. The scribes have missed out on yet another Dodger rumor. Japanese pitcher Shota Imanaga, which is a very singable name if you think about it. Imanaga will sign with the Cubs. So again, the board has been updated for those of you who are interested. Maybe Miller Moss does not have the #1 quarterback gig locked up with USC next year. Former UNLV quarterback Jaden Maiava has switched his commitment from the transfer portal from Georgia to the Trojans. Mayava is a redshirt freshman. He threw for more than 3,000 yards and 17 touchdowns last year. Also led the Rebels to a bowl game last year, which is a hell of an accomplishment. Because frankly, UNLV football, until last year, they were the bottom feeders of the Mountain West Conference. That comeback is due to a new coach, okay, but you can't discount what Mayava has done for that program. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Mayava has used the transfer portal in a way that's actually supposed to be the way you should use it. You dominate at a mid-level school, move up to a Power 5 conference, and get coached by a guy who has a pedigree to get you to a big money contract in the NFL. Basically, what I'm suggesting to you is that Jaden Mayava is the exact opposite of Malachi Nelson. Meanwhile, the Trojans' defensive rebuild included another transfer yesterday. Defensive tackle Isaiah Rakes from Texas A&M. The numbers suggest he is a run stopper. 6'2", 320 pounds. Maybe it's true. We'll have to find out this fall. But 8 of the incoming transfers to the Trojans, the vast majority, play defense. And if you're wondering about the state of the coaching staff, Rakes was recruited heavily by Sean Nua, who served as a co-defensive coordinator after Alex Grinch was given the heave-ho. So that would suggest Nua is keeping his job. Finally, Tackett Curtis, who was once seen as the next great USC linebacker, which would probably make him the first great USC linebacker since Willie McGinnis, he has transferred to Washington through the transfer portal. UCLA basketball coach Mick Cronin apologized to the press for blowing them off after the Bruins face-planted to Cal on Saturday. He said he was furious that the Bruins were not hustling. Quote, "That was alarming to me. So I felt I needed to address it immediately because your culture is the most important thing. At that time, they needed to see that I wasn't concerned about anything else but the situation," unquote. Meanwhile, Mr. Grumpy did concede something that we've been talking about on this channel since last summer. That you've added 7 freshmen. You've added 8 new players overall. And by the way, you landed them from all over Europe, so English is not necessarily everybody's first language. Cronin was acting, even as recently as last week, as if the learning curve was like this. You needed an army of translators for a bunch of freshmen. The learning curve is like this. So yeah, he's finally admitting, hey, maybe I was a wee bit optimistic about how quickly I could get these guys to play major college basketball. No kidding. But I will say this about Cronin, because I like the guy. He's just having a rough couple of months. The LA Times went to UCLA's players to ask what Cronin said to them after that loss on Saturday. To their credit, they kept their mouths shut. Center Kenneth Nwaba said he would not spill the beans as well. Now that might not sound like much, but I approve of him saying that. No, we're keeping it in-house. Had Nwaba given us that inside look into the locker room, and by the way, I apologize if I mispronounced the guy's name. If he had given us that inside look, if he had said, well, coach said this about me and this about that guy, and etc., that would suggest that Cronin has completely lost the locker room. So perhaps, the players still buy in. And that is, in fact, something to build on. Under the heading, "This will never happen in a million years," the LA Times has reported that the Chargers interviewed both offensive coordinator Kellen Moore and interim coach Giff Smith about the vacant head coaching gig. Smith didn't win a single game as the interim head coach. You could even argue that the Chargers offense actually regressed under Moore from a pretty bad 2022 under Lombardi. So I don't see them as favorites. But there is a dark horse guy that I think they might actually go for. Former Titans coach Mike Vrabel was fired yesterday. Now keep in mind, I have no insider information whatsoever. There's a chance I'm going to be wrong. But what do I base this on? Charger history. They have before said, we are going to spend this big fat check to get a big name coach. And they either wind up going for a retread coach or a hot young coordinator, right? Well, they've done the hot young coordinator route for the last couple of hires. They're talking a good game now. But what if Jim Harbaugh doesn't want to coach the Chargers? What if he wants a bigger deal out of Michigan? What if $25 million is a ridiculous amount of money to pay Bill Belichick, who hasn't done anything that Tom Brady's name wasn't attached to? That leaves Mike Vrabel, guys. It's just a guess. I'm willing to be wrong. You might have also figured the Chargers would be the best coaching gig out there because, after all, Justin Herbert, franchise quarterback. CBSSports.com thinks differently, though. They actually suggest the Washington Commanders' job is better. Now, you might be mad. You might be watching this clip, hearing that, and want to whip your cell phone against the wall. Before you lose out on that $1,000 and a trip to the Apple Store, let me at least give you their argument. Okay? The Commanders are no longer run by Dan Snyder. New ownership appears to be patient with a lengthy rebuild. And they have the number 2 overall pick. Now, I'm not saying that's a convincing argument. I'm not saying you should agree. You can tell me why it's full of crap. But at least I'm letting you know that there are other jobs out there that might have a little bit more attraction than coaching the Bolts. Meanwhile, the Chargers have also asked teams for interviews with 7 randos for the open GM gig. And when I say randos, keep in mind, they asked the Bears if they can interview front office execs Jeff King and Ian Cunningham. What have the Bears front office done that gives you any confidence that they would lead the Chargers to the Super Bowl? Anyone? They're the Bears. They're also looking at Saints assistant GM Jeff Ireland, Cowboys vice president Will McClay, 49ers assistant GM Adam Peters, Giants assistant Brandon Brown, and Bills official Terrence Gray. They have also interviewed one guy, or I should say, no, I take that back. Former Bolts GM Tom Telesco has landed an interview as well. He's going to interview for the Raiders GM gig. So 7 guys on the Chargers radar for GM. Former GM looking to Las Vegas. Also, quarterback Max Duggan signed with the Chargers yet again. Okay. Finally, UCLA football has added an Ivy Leaguer via the transfer portal. Joseph Vaughn played for Yale. He's a linebacker who picked off a pass, 32 tackles last year, which is enough for a first all Ivy League selection. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Does the fact that the district attorney does not see Julio Urias as a felon, due to that fact, does that change your opinion of him in any way? What do you think about the USC quarterback situation now that they've added somebody in the transfer portal? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.